What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for May 17th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. If you hear any birds outside, it's because I have the windows open. It's just too nice of a day. Plus, it's cool enough. The air conditioner wasn't kicking on, but I digress. Big news, obviously, is Doc Rivers was fired. And while I don't necessarily think it was the wrong decision, I hope that this is just one of many moves that this team does in the offseason. First, with Doc, I mean, his record is what it is. And I'll be the first to say that I was tough on him this year. I feel rightfully so. I also will say I don't think he coached that bad in the playoffs. Yes, his record in clinching games and everything speaks for itself, but I don't think this playoff failure falls 100% on him. And I know that's an unpopular opinion because nobody really wants to address the elephant in the room, which I'm going to address here in a minute. But, I mean, Doc, I feel, is what he is. And he came in here and basically was what he was. And by that, I mean, this was the Doc Rivers we were getting. And I still say till I'm blue in the face that I don't feel anyone has ever parlayed more out of one championship with a super team that, like I said, anybody could have coached to the championship than Doc Rivers. He got his job in LA due to that. He got his job in Philly based on that title he won in Boston. And what I think a lot of people forget is that team should have won one, possibly two more championships. They lost to the Lakers a year or two later after they beat them. It was one of Kobe Bryant's last championships, one that he won without Shaq, kind of cementing his legacy. So, I mean, obviously, it's one of the greatest players to ever play that you lost to, but they were a pretty damn good team, too. And then the next year, or a year or two later, they lost in the Eastern Conference Final in 7 games to Miami. And yeah, I mean, it was LeBron, but it wasn't necessarily. They should have won. Like, that's the thing. Like, once again, Doc choked. So his record is what it is. He did not have those players ready to play in the second half of that game. Part of that's coaching, but let's address the real elephant in the room here. I'm looking at you, Joel Embiid. And I know everybody wants to say, oh, well, Joe, no. Like, Joe needs to step up and get his head out of his ass because this is now 2 coaches, same result, same piss poor performance. And yeah, injuries, this, that. But you need to, like, if you're injured, don't play. If you're able to come back, and he played at a very high level in a couple of those games once he came back in this series. So don't give me, oh, the injury, this. No. And part of it's Doc's coaching, but at the same time, you got to know, okay, when he was at his best in this series, he was going down low and banging with Horford. Yes, Horford has Embiid's number. Yes, he plays good defense on him, but you are 7'2", 280 pounds. Why are you playing consistently at the three-point line? Especially when the game you had the success, you got him into foul trouble by going down low. Is that Doc? Is that Joe? I don't know. But listen, Doc's going to catch the heat for this. And again, I was never the biggest Doc fan. I figured I liked him when they signed him because he wasn't Brett Brown. But now we're how many years into this and we're still getting the same results? Who's going to hold the front office accountable? Who's going to hold Joel Embiid accountable? I mean, the front office is not getting anybody. We have no bench. And that's directly due to the moves that Morey and Elton Brand are making. I mean, Morey is bound and determined to make this Houston East. So where's their accountability in this? Where is the accountability on James Harden for just not showing up? So I think there's a lot of more. There's more dominoes that are going to fall here, and I hope and pray that they get somebody in here who's not going to be a yes man. And now that Doc's gone, I have a sneaky suspicion that James Harden will be back. We'll see how it goes, and I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you have 3 options. I mean, obviously you blow it all up, trade everybody. You let Harden walk, try to bring somebody else in, trade Tobias. I don't know. I'm still kind of, it's fresh on my mind, but with Doc and everything, I think hopefully that's just the first domino, because there's some other people in that organization that need to be held accountable. Yet here's your owner going out and buying the Washington Commanders. So how invested is he in all this as well? This has a potential to turn messy, is all I'm saying. I'm anxious to see who they bring in. I pray to God it's not Mike D'Antoni. And at that point, we might as well change our name to the Philadelphia Rockets at that point. But more on the Sixers as the situation develops. But Doc Rivers gone after 3 years as the head coach. As I said yesterday with our quote, every day is a new opportunity or a new beginning. Well, we certainly have a new beginning today in Sixers land. So it's going to be a fun offseason. Union in action tonight versus DC United. The Phillies. What the hell's up with the Phillies? They can't knock in runners. I mean, they lost 4-3. They're making silly errors in the field, but they can't knock in runners. They're getting the runners on base. They just can't knock them in. And I guess, I don't know. I mean, the take solace in the fact that they are getting the runners on base. Just got to figure out how to get them in. And it's just... deep breath, smile. Today's a new beginning. Speaking of new beginnings, PhillyGoat.com, we've talked about them. They do have union tees, the Fire Doc shirt. I mean, now you can jump on the bandwagon and get the Fire Doc because now that he's fired. Go to PhillyGoat.com. Check out their selection of Philly-based sports apparel as well as Philly-based tees, Rocky, you name it, they got it. So go check them out, PhillyGoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. All right, sticking with the Phillies today, and this team did not have trouble knocking in runners in scoring position. We're going to go back to 1979, and on this day, February. See, Doc Rivers and the Sixers got me all screwed up. It's May. It's not February. It's May. But on this date, May 17th, 1979, the Phillies beat the Cubs 23-22 in 10 innings. There was an 18-mile-per-hour wind blowing out at Wrigley Field, but I don't know if that is anything new. It's just balls fly out at Wrigley Field, or used to back in the day. So the Phillies scored 7 in the first inning. Cubs came right back and scored 6. Phils scored 8 in the third. The Cubs had a 7-run inning. As Charlie Manning used to say, they put up a lot of crooked numbers in this game. Mike Schmidt finally ended it with a home run in the 10th. But when it was all told, 45 runs scored in the game, 50 hits. Mike Schmidt went 2 for 4. Had 2 home runs, 2 intentional walks, 4 RBI. Newly acquired Pete Rose went 3 for 7 with 4 RBIs, 4 runs scored. Lowry Boa went 5 for 8. Gary Maddox went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and a homer. And he got pinch run for early and didn't get to enjoy in the later innings of that. Bob Boone went 3 for 4 with a homer and a double, 5 RBI. It's just a crazy, crazy stat game. If you were a fantasy player back then, definitely scored some points in this one. Dave Kingman of the Cubs went 3 for 6, 6 RBIs and 3 home runs. Just a wild game. After the game, the Phillies, ironically enough, were 4 games up on the Expos and 9 on the 5th place Pittsburgh Pirates. By the end of the year, the 3-time defending National League East champion Phillies finished in 4th place, 14 games back of those Pirates. So a lot went down between this game and the end of the season. The Pirates obviously won the World Series that year over the Baltimore Orioles. But on this day, it was all offense in Wrigley Field. Phillies 23, Cubs 22 in 10 innings. All right, we're going to stick in that time frame. In today's Sixers playoff spotlight, the 1978-79 team, head coach was Billy Cunningham. They went 47-35, took second in the Atlantic, third in the conference. Bobby Jones was first team All-NBA defense. Dr. J and Doug Collins was injured, were all-stars that year. Dr. J averaged 23.1 points per game. Caldwell Jones almost 10 rebounds per game. Rookie Mo Cheeks led them in assists with 5.3 a game. Also on those team were some of the names we've talked about: Mike Bibby, or Henry Bibby, Darryl Dawkins, Jelly Bean Bryant, and my favorite, the mayor, Steve Mix. They beat the Nets 2-0 in the first round of the playoffs that year, then lost to the San Antonio Spurs in the semifinals. Remember, I said when the ABA merged into the NBA, there was just teams all over before they did some realignment. However, the Sixers would make it back to the finals the next season. We talked also in this year, that series against the Nets. This was the year that the Nets successfully protested a regular season game with the Sixers, and Eric Money ended up being shown up in the box score for both games because they replayed it later in the year. But the 78-79 Sixers lost in the Eastern Conference semis to the San Antonio Spurs, would make it to the finals the next year before losing to a rookie named Magic Johnson. But on this date, 1979, a wild one out in Wrigley Field. Mike Schmidt finally winning it for the Phillies in the top of the 10th with a home run. Doc is gone. I don't know if we should do ding dong, the Doc is dead, but I hope there's more moves to come forward with this, because this team is teetering on the brink of just imploding. So this is going to be a very, very key off season, and I feel like they all are. But I mean, now you got to get this right guy in place. Hopefully, it's not Mike D'Antoni. God, please don't let it be Mike D'Antoni. I would love to see Sam Cassell, because Sam Cassell is the guy that got Tyrese Maxey doing his thing, and I think he could probably reach the players, but we'll see. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. Go check out phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. I am Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Wednesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.